Look, I have been teaching interstellar xenobiology for 73 cycles now, and I thought I had seen everything. Every pompous cadet, every species with their ridiculous claims about being apex predators, every single overconfident rookie who thinks they can just waltz into my facility and dominate a Crethian spine wolf without proper training. But humans? Humans are something else entirely. My name is Voruk, and I run the most prestigious creature handling academy in the Andromeda sector. We take cadets from 47 different species and teach them how to work with the galaxy's most dangerous fauna. It is not just about survival, mind you. It is about partnership, understanding, respect. A good handler does not control their creature. They communicate with it, form a genuine connection, become part of the same pack, so to speak. That is why I was less than thrilled when the Terran Embassy sent over their first batch of candidates. The file on my datapad read like a bad joke. Species, human, origin, Earth, Sol system, classification, Deathworld survivor. Special notes: prone to emotional attachment with non-sapient species. Approach with caution. Prone to emotional attachment? What kind of warning was that? And Deathworld survivor? Please. Half the species in my academy came from high-gravity planets with toxic atmospheres. These humans were probably just another batch of soft-bellied mammals who would cry the first time a razorhawk nipped at their fingers. The first human to walk through my door was a female named Kira Ventos. She had dark skin, short cropped hair that defied gravity in weird angles, and the most unsettling smile I had ever witnessed. Not threatening, you understand. Just confident in a way that made my antenna twitch. "Instructor Voruk," she said, extending her hand in that bizarre human greeting ritual. "Honored to be here." I tapped my claws against her palm, which apparently counted as a handshake. "The honor is yours. You are late." "Traffic in the orbital district was insane," she replied, not even slightly apologetic. "Some Eularian freighter decided to park sideways across 3 lanes. Anyway, when do we meet the animals?" Animals. She called them animals. Not creatures, not beasts, not partners. Animals. This was going to be a disaster. I led her, and the other 4 humans, 2 males named Rax Toller and Finn Oaks, and 2 more females named Jade Merrick and Poppy Shin, through the main compound. The facility sprawled across 12 square kilometers of carefully controlled biomes. Section A housed the flyers. Section B contained the aquatics. Section C, well, that is where we kept the ones that could actually kill you in under 6 seconds. "Here is how this works," I announced, my voice echoing through the entrance hall. "You will each be assigned a starter creature, something manageable, a glider cat perhaps, or a shale beetle. You will spend the next 10 rotations learning basic commands, feeding protocols, and safety procedures. Only after you demonstrate competency will you advance to intermediate species. Clear?" The humans nodded, but I noticed they kept glancing at each other with these little smirks, like they were in on some private joke. "Any questions?" I asked. Rax, the taller male with arms covered in colorful permanent skin markings, raised his hand. "Yeah, what is the biggest thing you have got here?" I felt my secondary eyelids flicker in annoyance. Size is irrelevant. A sand viper is 12 centimeters long and can drop a Graythan warlord in 4 seconds. Respect the creature, not its dimensions. Right, Rax said, nodding way too enthusiastically. Respect. Got it. But hypothetically, what is the absolute largest? Before I could respond, an alarm shrieked through the compound. Red lights flashed in rotating patterns. My communicator crackled with panicked voices. "Sector C breach." "Repeat, Sector C breach." The thunder. "Bison herd has broken through the northern barrier." Oh, perfect. Just perfect. Thunder bison are 4-ton herbivores from Kethra Prime, normally docile, but when spooked, they stampede. And when they stampede, they flatten everything in their path. We are talking about creatures that can charge through reinforced steel plating like it is wet paper. "Stay here," I barked at the humans, already running toward the emergency protocol station. "Do not move, do not touch anything, do not even breathe loudly." I did not wait to see if they obeyed. I had 6 other instructors to coordinate with, emergency barriers to activate, tranquilizer drones to deploy. The Thunder Bison were heading straight for the central plaza, where dozens of other cadets were doing afternoon drills. This could turn into a massacre. I was halfway through deploying the sonic barriers when I heard it. A whistle. Not just any whistle, mind you. This was a clear, sharp, three-tone pattern that cut through the chaos like a blade through gelatin. It was the kind of sound that made you stop mid-sprint and turn around because your brain could not ignore it. The Thunder Bison stopped. They just stopped. All 17 of them mid-stampede, hooves tearing up the ground as they skidded to a confused halt. Their massive heads swiveled toward the source of the sound. Toward Kira Ventos, who stood in the middle of the plaza with her hands cupped around her mouth, whistling like her life depended on it. "What is she doing?" My assistant instructor, a Plavix named Torin, whispered beside me. "She is going to get trampled." But Kira did not get trampled. Instead, she lowered her hands and started walking toward the herd. Slowly, deliberately, making eye contact with the lead bull, a scarred old monster we called Granite, because his hide was basically living rock. "No, no, no," I muttered, trying to get my legs to move, to run out there and pull her back before she became a red smear on my nice, clean plaza stones. Kira stopped about 3 meters from Granite. They stared at each other. The bull snorted, steam rising from his nostrils, his eyes showing white around the edges. He was terrified, confused, aggressive, everything you do not want in a 4-ton beast with horns like battle axes. Then Kira did something insane. She started humming, a low, gentle sound, rising and falling in a rhythm that somehow matched the bull's breathing. She extended one hand, palm down, fingers loose and non-threatening, just held it there, humming this bizarre little tune that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Granite took a step forward. Then another. He lowered his massive head, sniffing at Kira's hand, his breath strong enough to blow her hair back, and then, by all the stars in the void, he nuzzled into her palm. The other bison, seeing their leader calm, began to settle. Their panicked stamping turned into confused shuffling. A few even started grazing on the decorative shrubs along the plaza edge, apparently deciding the emergency was over. Kira kept humming, kept stroking Granite's scarred muzzle, acting like this was the most normal thing in the universe. I became aware that my mouth was hanging open. Torin was making a high-pitched wheeze that I think was supposed to be words but came out as pure shock. "Someone want to explain?" came a voice behind me. "Why the human is cuddling with our most dangerous herbivore?" I turned to find Finn, the stockier male human, standing there with his arms crossed and an expression of pure amusement on his face. I stammered, which I never do. She whistled, and they stopped, and now she is. I do not even know what she is doing. "Making friends, obviously," Finn said. Like this explained everything. Kira is good with animals. Back home, she ran a rescue sanctuary for traumatized livestock. If it has got 4 legs and a pulse, she can calm it down. "That is a thunder bison," I said, my voice climbing several octaves. "It could kill her by sneezing." "Yeah, but it is not going to," Finn replied. "Look at the body language. The ears are forward, the tail is relaxed, the breathing is steady. That bull trusts her already." I looked back at Kira, who was now scratching behind Granite's ear, and the bull was leaning into it like an oversized pet. The other humans had wandered over, apparently unconcerned about the herd of deadly herbivores currently munching on expensive landscaping. Jade, a female with bright red hair pulled into an intricate braid, knelt down near a younger bison, offering it something from her pocket. The creature sniffed, then delicately took whatever she was offering, chewing with obvious pleasure. Are those protein cubes from the cafeteria?" I demanded. "Yep," Jade said cheerfully. "Figured if they are herbivores, they might like the vegetable blend ones. Seems I was right." Poppy, the smallest of the humans with sharp features and calculating eyes, was examining the broken barrier, running her fingers along the twisted metal. "This was not a random break," she announced. "Look at the stress patterns. Something scared them badly enough to charge through reinforced durasteel. You have got a predator problem in Sector C, Instructor." I blinked. "We do not have predator problems. This is a controlled facility." "Then you have got an uncontrolled predator," Poppy said, straightening up. "I would bet my certification that something got into their enclosure. Something big enough and mean enough to spook an entire herd into panic mode." As if on cue, another alarm sounded. This one from Sector B, the Aquatics Division. Breach in holding, Tank 7, the automated voice announced. Warning, deep stalker containment failure. All personnel evacuate to safe zones. Deep stalkers? Oh, by the void. Deep stalkers are ambush predators from the ocean trenches of Thalassor. 15 meters long, camouflage skin that makes them basically invisible, and jaws that can bite through ship hulls. We kept exactly one in the facility, and it required a specialized tank with pressure controls and sensory dampeners. If it was loose, we had minutes before it started hunting anything with a heat signature. The humans exchanged glances. Right, Rax said, cracking his knuckles. Who wants to catch a sea monster? You cannot be serious, I said. That is a deep stalker. You do not just catch them. Sure you do, Rax said, already jogging towards Sector B. You just need the right bait, the right trap, and a healthy disrespect for your own mortality. Come on, this is going to be fun. The other humans followed him, laughing like maniacs. Kira gave Granite one last scratch, whispered something I could not hear into his ear, and then sprinted after her companions. I stood there, surrounded by peacefully grazing thunder bison, trying to process what had just happened. Torin wheezed beside me. Instructor, I think we might have underestimated them. You think? I snapped, already running after the humans because someone had to keep these insane deathworlders from getting themselves killed. Even if part of me was starting to suspect that the deep stalker was the one in danger. By the time I caught up to the humans, they had already bypassed 3 security checkpoints and were standing at the edge of the aquatic sector's main observation deck. Below us, the massive holding tanks stretched out like a series of interconnected oceans, each one carefully balanced to replicate specific planetary environments. Tank 7 was chaos. Water sloshed over the reinforced edges, alarms wailed, and emergency drones circled uselessly above the churning surface. The deep stalker was down there somewhere, invisible beneath the dark water, hunting mode fully activated. Okay, Finn said, leaning over the railing with absolutely no sense of self-preservation. So, we need to get it back in the tank without hurting it, right? Hurting it, I gasped, still trying to catch my breath. It is a 15-meter apex predator. You should be worried about it hurting you. Yeah, but it is scared, Kira said, her eyes scanning the water. Look at the movement patterns. It is not hunting. It is panicking. Something drove it out of its tank, and now it is disoriented in an unfamiliar environment. Poppy had her datapad out, fingers flying across the holographic interface. I am pulling up the tank's sensor logs from the last hour. There, see that? Temperature spike in the northwest quadrant, 15 minutes before the breach. Someone or something introduced a heat source into a cold water tank. For a creature that navigates primarily by thermal sensing, that would be like setting off a flashbang in its face. Sabotage? Torin whispered, his scales paling to a sickly yellow. Or gross incompetence, Jade suggested. Either way, we need to calm it down and guide it home before it accidentally kills someone or hurts itself trying to escape. And how exactly do you plan to do that? I demanded. We have been trying to retrieve escaped deep stalkers for 3 hours before, with full teams and specialized equipment. Rax grinned. It was not a comforting expression. We are going to do what humans do best, Instructor. We are going to be absolutely ridiculous and somehow make it work. He turned to Finn. You still have that harmonica in your bag? Finn patted his jacket. Never leave home without it. Perfect. Jade, I need you on thermal management. Find a way to create a temperature gradient leading back to Tank 7. Make it obvious, like a giant neon sign saying, "Come this way for comfort and safety." Jade nodded and sprinted toward the environmental controls. Poppy, hack the lighting system. I want everything except Tank 7 to go bright. Deep stalkers hate bright light. We will use it to funnel movement. On it, Poppy said already, jacked into a maintenance terminal. Kira, you are with me. We are going in the water. Absolutely not, I shouted, my voice echoing off the metal walls. That is suicide. The deep stalker will detect your body heat instantly. Yeah, that is kind of the point, Rax said, pulling off his jacket and boots. It needs to know where we are so it does not accidentally run into other people. We will be the obvious targets, the ones making noise and heat, while you evacuate everyone else from this sector. This is insane. Yep, Kira agreed cheerfully, already stripping down to what appeared to be form-fitting undergarments. But it will work. Trust me, I have done stupider things with bigger animals. When? I demanded. When have you possibly done anything stupider than swimming with a deep stalker? There was this one time with a pod of orcas during mating season, she said thoughtfully. That got pretty hairy. Or the incident with the grizzly bears and the salmon run. Oh, or that thing in Australia with the saltwater crocodiles. Though technically that was not my fault, since I was trying to rescue a tourist who fell in the river. I stared at her. What kind of death world produces creatures called saltwater crocodiles? The fun kind, she said, and then dove into the water before I could stop her. Rax followed a second later, hitting the surface with a splash that probably announced their presence to every living thing within a kilometer. The lights went out. Every single light in the aquatic sector, except for the ones over Tank 7, which suddenly blazed like a miniature sundae. In the sudden darkness, I could see thermal lines appearing in the water, glowing paths of warmth leading toward the empty tank. Finn pulled out a small metal instrument and put it to his lips. The sound that came out was haunting, a low, mournful wail that seemed to resonate through the water itself. Not music, exactly. More like a conversation, a question asked in tones that bypassed language entirely. In the water below, I saw Rax and Kira treading water, their body heat bright against my thermal vision. They were singing, actually singing, their voices carrying through the liquid medium, creating vibrations that would ping off the deep stalker's sensory organs. It was the dumbest thing I had ever witnessed. It was also working. The water near the far wall rippled. Not wind, not current, movement. Something massive displacing liquid as it glided through the darkness. The deep stalker's camouflage was perfect, but I could track it by the absence of heat, a cold void cutting through the warmer water. It was moving toward Rax and Kira. They are going to die, Torin whispered beside me. We are watching them die. But Kira and Rax did not panic. They kept singing, kept treading water, kept being loud and obvious and absolutely non-threatening. They were not fleeing. They were not attacking. They were just there, present, visible, harmless despite being made of delicious meat. The deep stalker circled them once, twice. I could see its outline now, the way its body refracted light slightly differently than the surrounding water. It was huge, even bigger than I remembered. Its jaws could swallow either human whole without much effort. Finn changed his tune. The harmonica shifted from mournful to curious, asking different questions, suggesting different possibilities. The humans in the water altered their song to match. And then, incredibly, the deep stalker surfaced. Its head broke through the water between Rax and Kira, sensory barbels extended, tasting the vibrations they were producing. Up close, it was a nightmare of teeth and ancient hunger, a creature that had survived millions of years of evolution by being the perfect killer. Kira reached out slowly and touched the side of its head. The deep stalker went very still. "Hey there, gorgeous," she murmured, her voice barely audible even with my enhanced hearing. "Got yourself all turned around, did you not? It is okay. We have all been there. New place, weird smells, everything is wrong and scary. But look, see that nice bright tank over there? That is home. That is where the water is the right temperature, the right pressure, the right everything. What do you say we get you back where you belong?" The creature's barbels twitched, processing the information conveyed through tone and vibration more than words. Kira kept her hand on its head, kept humming, kept radiating calm acceptance. Slowly, so slowly, she began swimming toward Tank 7. The deep stalker swam with her, matching her pace, staying close like a massive aquatic puppy following its mother. Rax stayed back, continuing to sing, providing an acoustic anchor that kept the creature calm and oriented. Finn adjusted his melody, creating a path of sound that led straight to the tank. I watched, unable to speak, as Kira guided a 15-meter apex predator across open water like she was walking a domesticated pet. When they reached Tank 7, she dove under, still holding contact with the creature, and led it through the reinforced opening. The deep stalker slipped into its proper tank without resistance. The moment it entered the familiar environment, its body language changed. The tension bled away. It did a slow, satisfied circle of its territory, reclaiming its space, and then settled into the rocky outcropping we had carefully constructed to mimic its natural habitat. Kira surfaced, treading water at the tank's edge, and gave the creature one last affectionate pat. "Good job, beautiful. You stay safe now, okay?" The deep stalker's eye, massive and ancient and filled with alien intelligence, fixed on her for a long moment. Then it retreated into the shadows of its tank, disappearing into the darkness where it belonged. Rax swam over and helped Kira out of the water. They stood there, dripping and grinning like idiots, while the lights came back on and the alarms finally went silent. "So," Rax said, wringing water from his shirt, "do we pass the entrance exam or what?" I could not form words. My brain had given up trying to process what I just witnessed. Jade appeared from the environmental controls station, looking pleased with herself. Got the temperature regulation fixed. Whatever caused that spike was a one-time malfunction. Should not happen again. "Actually," Poppy said, walking over with her datapad, "it was not a malfunction. Look at this code injection. Someone deliberately overrode the safety protocols. This was intentional sabotage, probably aimed at causing enough chaos to shut down the academy, or at least damage our reputation." My antenna went rigid. Who would do such a thing? "Somebody who does not want humans in the program?" Finn suggested, putting his harmonica away. "We got a few nasty messages before we left Earth. Lot of species think humans are dangerous, unpredictable, too good at violence. Some folks would rather we stayed on our side of the galaxy." "That is absurd," I said automatically, though even I could hear the uncertainty in my voice. "This academy is about cooperation, understanding between species." "Yeah, well, not everyone got the memo," Jade said. "But hey, on the bright side, we just proved we can handle your most dangerous creatures without breaking a sweat. So, maybe we are not the threat everyone keeps worrying about." I looked at the 5 humans, standing there soaking wet and absurdly confident, having just prevented what could have been a catastrophic disaster. "The bonding exercise," I said slowly, my mind racing. "The one scheduled for tomorrow. It is when each cadet is assigned a permanent partner creature, the one they will work with for the rest of their training." "Yeah?" Kira said. "What about it?" "It is, traditionally, we match cadets with creatures that suit their personality and skills. Conservative pairings, safe choices." "Uh-huh," Rax said, clearly waiting for the other boot to drop. "I made a decision that would probably get me fired. How would you feel about skipping the starter creatures entirely and going straight to advanced partners?" The humans exchanged glances. Grins spread across their faces like a contagion. "Instructor Voruk," Kira said, "I think that is the best idea you have had all day." The next morning, I stood in the main arena with my teaching staff and about 40 very nervous cadets from various species. The humans stood together, practically vibrating with excitement. "Today," I announced, "you will meet your partner creatures. The bonds you form here will define your careers as handlers. Remember everything you have learned. Approach with respect, with patience, with humility." I paused, looking directly at the humans. "Some of you may find that the creatures choose you rather than the other way around. Do not fight it. Trust the process." I signaled to the handlers to open the gates. Glider cats prowled in for the Zenthari cadets. Shale beetles clicked forward for the Graythan students. A juvenile sky serpent wound through the air toward a promising young Plavix. And then the special gates opened. Granite, the massive thunder bison bull, walked straight to Kira. He lowered his head, and she scratched behind his ear exactly the way she had during the stampede. "Hey, buddy, ready to be a team?" 3 razor hawks, vicious predatory birds with wingspans of 4 meters, landed around Rax. They normally never tolerated each other's presence, but around the human, they seemed content. "Guess I get a flock," Rax laughed. A pack of sand vipers, the 12-centimeter death dealers I had mentioned earlier, swarmed around Jade's feet. She knelt down, letting them investigate her, completely unafraid of their legendary venom. Tiny but mighty, I respect that. Finn found himself approached by a melodious whale bird, a creature that communicated entirely through complex songs. It hummed at him. He hummed back with his harmonica. They were speaking within seconds. Poppy stood patiently as a shadow stalker, an intelligent predator known for its problem-solving abilities, emerged from the darkness, and sat at her feet like it had been waiting its whole life to meet her. "Hello there, clever one. Want to solve some puzzles together?" And then, because the universe apparently had a sense of humor, the deep stalker breached in its observation tank, watching Kira with what I could only describe as longing. "That one is not up for partnership," I called out. "It is too dangerous for field work." Kira looked at me, then at the deep stalker, then back at me. "Can I visit it? Like, regularly?" "I suppose that would be acceptable," I admitted. She beamed and waved at the creature. It did a little spin in its tank that looked disturbingly like joy. The other instructors stared at me like I had lost my mind. Maybe I had, but watching the humans with their new partners, seeing the instant rapport and understanding, I realized something important. These deathworlders, these dangerous, unpredictable creatures from a planet that apparently tried to kill them daily, they had something we had been trying to teach for decades. They understood that bonding was not about control. It was not about dominance or submission. It was about communication, trust, and mutual respect between different forms of intelligence. They did not see creatures as things to be trained. They saw them as individuals with their own fears, needs, and personalities. And somehow, impossibly, the creatures recognized that understanding and responded to it. "Instructor," Torin whispered, "I think the humans just revolutionized our entire teaching methodology." "I think you are right," I said, watching Kira laugh as Granite nuzzled her shoulder hard enough to nearly knock her over. "I think everything is about to change." Poppy approached me, her shadow stalker, padding silently beside her. "So, about that sabotage, want help finding who did it? Because my partner here is really good at tracking, and I am really good at holding grudges." I looked down at the predator, which gazed back with unsettling intelligence. "You know what?" I said. Yes, I would like that very much." As the bonding ceremony continued around us, I realized that the humans had not just passed their entrance exam. They had completely redefined what it meant to be a creature handler. And whoever had tried to sabotage the academy to keep them out had made a critical mistake. They had given the humans a reason to prove themselves. And from what I had seen, when humans decided to prove something, the galaxy had better pay attention. Because it turned out that when you came from a death world where everything tried to kill you, you learned to make friends with the dangerous things. You learned to speak in whistles and songs and touches that transcended species. You learned that the scariest creatures often just needed someone to understand them. The instructor had ordered us to bond with our creatures. The human whistled, and every beast answered. And honestly, I was starting to think that was the most natural thing in the universe.